Yeah, I think that what mainly affects us, and not that everyone will be investing in township, but I think as part of the koKasi properties, mainly we are looking at reviving and rejuvenating our townships. So why should you look at townships? If you buy a 2-bedroom, can you get a 2-bedroom? If you buy a 2-bedroom townhouse, that's about, let me be generous and say it's about 500,000. And hypothetically speaking, let's say all the costs, if you were to rent it out, you still cover the cost. In the unlikely event, which we know that it is very unlikely, you are able to cover the cost. But if you take the very same amount of money, 500,000, and go and buy a property, a gas, for 500,000 or even below, because here it will be mid-range, it will be what 2-bedroom townhouse. If you take that 350,000 rent and go and buy, you can go and buy a very decent property with a decent size, 250 to 300 square meters, and take the rest. You can even start building with 2 rooms. There are 2 nice, decent rooms, because it will be your main house. And with that balance, because on average, it costs about 100, 120, 130,000 rand to build a bachelor unit. Just build 2. After 2 years or after a year, you start building them one by one. You can do foundation all at once, or you just start building them, either one by one, 2 by 2, at your own pace. So the entry to the towns, to the market, it's very low in the townships. You can get a property for 300,000. You can get a property for 250,000 rand. And I know currently they've gone bananas. Even RDPs, they're quite expensive, because a lot of people have actually realized that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong, by the way, to go and buy an RDP, as long as you've got a title deed and there are no endorsement to that, and you follow the whole legal process. Get concurrence from, it hardly happens, get concurrence from Home Affairs, not Home Affairs, Housing Department. Demolish that RDP and build your rental units. So the beauty about, the advantage about the township is that there's high population density. So we know that there are a lot of people in townships, and people are looking for decent accommodation. And if you're building the rental units, bachelor units, because there are people who stay, let me take, for example, a cashier. You're a cashier, you are from Soshanguve. You're too old, you don't want to stay at home anymore. But you cannot afford to go and buy a property of 300, 500,000, for example. And you also don't want to go and stay in town. So you want decent unit, you can go and rent. And the people that are renting, that cashier from ShopRite, that manager that may be coming from all the way from KZN to go and to be a manager for a store in Soshanguve or in Tembisa, for an example, they would want the decent rental units. So the density is there. There's a demand there. There are a lot of people. The population is there. And people are also going back to the townships now, because in the BABs it's quite expensive. And then the rentals are low as compared to the BABs. And by the way, we can still do a rent to rent. Rent that house and go and do a multi-lands. Rent it per room. You can rent it to students. Rent a typical house, they rent it for 3,000, and you rent it to students, paying about 2,000 rand per room. And that's how you'd enter the market, and the property market, and make yourself money. But the rental in koKasi, what I've realized is they are low, and I've hardly seen a lot of rent to rent, and the opportunities are there as well to do your rent to rent. Your gross yield is very high in the townships as well. And as much as the rental are low, it's because of the opportunity to do the multi-lands. Your typical rental will be low. The gross yield may be may be low. But once you start applying the strategies in terms of your multi-lands, then your gross yield goes up. There's also an opportunity for multi-lets and back rooms. It's a company called iBuild. Okay, that is more expensive than even credit cards, by the way. They are financing multi-lets, they are financing back rooms. They have seen opportunities with the back rooms, but because there's still gray area in terms of their legalities and so on, and I would not want to venture into that, there's still a gray area. But you can do that. And they can even finance you. If you've got a affordability, instead of coming to buy property in Centurion, you can go and buy the property koKasi, and they would finance you, although they're quite expensive. They would finance you as long as the numbers make sense, because what is important is to have that property in your portfolio and start earning that rental income. If the numbers make sense, go for it. And we've also seen major rejuvenations of townships. We've got malls now, we've got amenities in townships. You actually don't need to move from township or drive from townships to go to towns, because the amenities are there. And also the cost of living in township. A 50 kiloliter of water in Centurion, same municipality, and a 50 kiloliter of water, same municipality, in Soshanguve, for an example, and the city of Tshwane, they are not the same. The costs are not the same. For 50 kiloliters, you may be paying about 5,000 for the same amount of water. In townships, you'll be paying about 1,000 rand. Sometimes that's how much the differences are. Of course, there are, it has its own, cons in terms of staying in the townships, but, let's go and invest in townships, because there are major opportunities in townships as well, or in general.